Hey guys, it's Paradise, and today we're taking a closer look at one of the more unique features in Marvel Rivals. Everyone knows that Captain America can use his shield to reflect incoming attacks, but it turns out there are powerful ultimate abilities that he can also reflect back and become his. So we've got a comprehensive guide here going over all of the ultimates to answer the question, which ultimates can Captain America deflect? If you learned something new here, make sure to drop a like below and share any tips that you have for your mains. We'll start off with Groot, where we were pleasantly surprised to find out that his ultimate, Strangling Prison, is not only reflected but also becomes yours. This lets you bind the enemy team in place and deals damage over time to them, so this is pretty strong. Next up, we have Magneto's Meteor M, which you're also able to successfully bounce back, which would be incredibly strong, but remember Magneto does fly in the air when doing this, so the angle to reflect it back may be a little hard to hit other players. Hela's ultimate, Goddess of Death, lets her fly into the air before shooting explosive crows that deal a ton of damage. These can be reflected back at her, although it will overwhelm your shield's health in no time, so this can be quite risky. For Black Widow's ultimate, Electroplasma Explosion, you can reflect this as well, and it will even leave behind its slowing plasma field on impact that can affect enemies standing in it, so this is very strong too. Funnily enough, the mirror match of Captain America really doesn't do anything, as Captain America's ultimate, Freedom Charge, is a team-wide buff. But you can block the displacement effect, assuming you don't let the enemy cap get behind you. Although it isn't a projectile, we found that Winter Soldier's ultimate can also be successfully blocked. The interesting thing about this is that it means the culling mark will not be applied, making this a good way to counter his ult on you. Moon Knight is next with his Hand of Khonshu, and interestingly, even though this does consist of several exploding hand projectiles when they hit the ground, you're not able to deflect them. On top of this, it deals so much damage to your shield, it will destroy you so quickly, so stay away from that one. Next up, we have Scarlet Witch, and although you can't deflect her reality erasure back at her, Cap is able to survive the ultimate just fine, despite his shield being super tiny. It will obliterate your shield, but it will keep you alive. Venom's ultimate, Feast of the Abyss, is a large AoE on the ground, so there's not really anything you can reflect here. However, Cap can block the incoming damage so long as he's aiming at the center of the AoE. For Psylocke's Dance of the Butterfly, she can essentially teleport behind you to deal damage, so you can't block or reflect this one with your shield. Black Panther's Beast Descent has him launch a giant panther that rakes enemies in with its claws. So we thought this one would probably work, but unfortunately, it doesn't, as it doesn't reflect it back, and it will also go through Cap's shield entirely, so it's not even worth blocking. Iron Man, on the other hand, is a prime target for your deflection capabilities, as his ultimate, the Invincible Pulse Cannon, can be deflected. This is devastating for the enemy team, as it's one of the ults capable of one-shotting pretty much anyone, so this is perfect to use against any Iron Mans on the other team. The Punisher's Final Judgment ult can be deflected, as it is mostly bullets, but because of the sheer damage output of his Gatling gun, it will overwhelm your shield pretty quickly. Star-Lord's Galactic Legend is technically reflectable, but much like the Punisher's, it will quickly and easily defeat your shield after just a short time, so this one is a little less viable. Namor's Horn of Proteus calls in the Whale Creature, who unfortunately cannot be reflected. Captain America can, however, block all of the incoming damage on himself, as well as negating the knockback effect, so long as your shield is up. Spider-Man's Spectacular Spin ability, even though it looks like it might, it doesn't actually interact with your shield. Despite it looking like it shoots many web projectiles, it is in fact just an AoE, so it can only be blocked like many others and not reflected. Storm also has an AoE-based ultimate turning into a massive tornado, so there's nothing that you can reflect, but blocking will buy you some time to get away from her if you are quick enough. Squirrel Girl, however, is a special case. You can't reflect the actual stampede of her ultimate, the Ultimate Squirrel Tsunami, but you can block the first instance of damage. Instead of bouncing off you though, they will trample over you, doing damage once they get above and past your shield, so this is a rare half and half scenario. Wolverine, on the other hand, is another character with nothing to directly reflect, but he actually has no trouble piercing through your shield. His last stand ultimate will interrupt your shield block, knock you into the air, allowing him to hit you with a follow-up dive. Unfortunately for everyone, the green dragons from Iron Fist's Living Chi won't actually count as a projectile. This means the extra attack speed and movement speed will make short work of both your shield and your health. For Hawkeye though, his Hunter's Sight ultimate doesn't actually affect enemies directly, instead creates after images of enemies, letting him focus you down. However, with your shield raised, Captain America can actually negate this effect, stopping any images from appearing and cleansing any that might already be in effect. Magik's ultimate transforms her into Dark Child, empowering her with mostly a melee-based moveset. So the ultimate itself has nothing to reflect, but it's good to know that Cap can reflect an empowered magic/projectile with absolutely no issues. Peni Parker's ultimate Spider Sweeper allows her to rush forward and throw out abilities all around her, so Cap can't really interact with this with his shield. There's not much to see here, and she can knock him over even through his shield, so that's interesting to note. In a similar vein, Hulk's two ultimates just transform him into the Hero Hulk and the Monster Hulk, so they don't have any effect on the shield. Doctor Strange's Eye of Agamotto will stun enemies in range, but while Cap's shield is up, it will negate the effect. But sadly, he can't turn this on Doctor Strange in return, as the ability is AoE. Rocket Raccoon's See Ya ability does shoot out a damage-boosting beacon, but unfortunately it doesn't interact with the shield in any way. One of the cool interactions that Rocket does have with Cap though is his repair mode projectiles that can be reflected, which actually lets Cap steal them, letting them restore his team. Thor's God of Thunder ultimate allows him to float in the air before slamming down in a big AoE, which much like the other AoEs can't be reflected. Cloak Dagger's Eternal Bond is one of the only AoE ultimates that seems to actually damage both Cap and his shield at the same time. They leave a trail of damaging miasma on the ground, which will eat through your shield and health. Luna Snow's Fate of Both Worlds is a big AoE heal that can be transformed into a damage buff for her team, so this obviously doesn't interact. But it is interesting to know that Cap's shield actually stops her Ice Art ability from piercing through. Mantis has a similar issue with her Soul Resurgence that gives her team a speed boost and heal over time effect, meaning other than her projectiles, she can't really interact with Cap's shield. Loki's ultimate God of Mischief lets him steal another character's ultimate, which is unaffected by your shield, so that's another one that unfortunately doesn't have any effect. Adam Warlock's Karmic Revival also has no effect, as it does create a resurrection zone for his allies. And finally, Jeff's ultimate ability can still gobble up Cap even with your shield, there's just no escaping that Jeff ult. Although much like many of the other supports, Cap can steal some of Jeff's abilities for his team, even including Jeff's healing bubbles. But there is every ult in the game tested against Captain America's shield. Were any of them a surprise to you? Let us know down in the comments, and put any tips that you have for your main down below so that the comments can be a treasure trove of goodies for everyone to learn. And make sure to subscribe for more Marvel Rivals coming your way soon. Here at Arekkz Gaming, we're two friends who love to play games. You have me, Paradise, as well as 26.
Our goal is to keep the videos as concise as possible by cutting out any of the fluff and focusing on what really matters with high quality videos.
So make sure you're subscribed down below for more videos on your favorite games coming very, very soon.